On a day that's dedicated to celebrating our veterans and showing them appreciation, people are outraged about a new ordinance that was recently passed, and it could affect a lot of veterans and families in one of the worst ways possible. I'm Danielle Vance. So now, what does this new rule do? The new ordinance passed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, makes it illegal for anyone to give food to homeless people outdoors, or more specifically, food sharing outdoors. The acting mayor overseeing the ordinance was being interviewed on a TV news network when he essentially said that more sites were being created than ever before for the feedings, and that they're just restricting the locations of the feedings, not stopping them. And he also said that feeding the homeless does not fix the problem. It just enables them to stay there and continue to be homeless. Now, firstly, I believe terms like the feedings and the homeless are really odd terms to use when speaking about human beings as opposed to another species. And secondly, I believe that allowing people to starve also does not solve the problem. In fact, allowing people to go hungry only creates a situation where crime is very likely to increase. And I also believe that getting homeless people to move by moving where they have access to food also does not solve the problem. They still have nowhere to go, and they're still going to be outdoors. They are homeless, are they not? This common train of thought that you are enabling them by feeding them shows how common the belief is that homeless people actually prefer to be homeless, as opposed to it being a position they fell into or were forced into. Well, here's a fact that might surprise you. According to Part 1 of HUD's 2013 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, 18% of homeless people are chronically homeless. Only 18%. Most often, these are the people that are facing complicated health problems, severe mental illness, substance abuse disorders, injuries, and trauma. Because of these things, they're often running through repeat cycles of emergency rooms, psychiatric centers, crisis centers, and jail. But when you think about the fact that they're still homeless and unstable, of course, these things are going to do very little to actually help them. And the whole time, this is costing the public so much more than it needs to. The humane solution, and guess what? The solution with the lowest cost to the public is permanent supportive housing. This puts together a package of the affordable housing and supportive services they need to be stable and improve their lives. So why hasn't this been done yet? Congress chooses not to fund it. Now, these are some of the situations chronically homeless people are facing. But what about the majority 82% of other homeless people? The 82% that isn't considered chronically homeless, but is in more of a temporary homeless position. So many of us don't know that the majority of homeless people don't fit the stereotype we tend to have in our minds of homelessness. Meaning, homeless people that many of us see on sidewalks or in the streets that tend to be chronically homeless. No, actually it's the people you might never know are homeless that make up the majority of people experiencing homelessness. Your family members, friends, co-workers, church members, students, people you know, and members of your community. Especially in these times, there are so many people, women, families, children, Veterans that are homeless, living in shelters, in cheap motels, on the streets, in cars, on campgrounds, or in tight spaces with other families doubled up. They move from one temporary solution to another, but most still try to fit into society and run their lives the best they can. So, what do we really know about what homelessness looks like? Who are the people experiencing homelessness today, and what got them there? One group experiencing homelessness in high numbers are veterans. And on that note, are they really being acknowledged as much as we like to believe? There's been endless war, law enforcement, and military throughout the years, but advances are only just now being made in the last few years toward ending veteran homelessness. Veterans who have come home from God knows what, who've seen and experienced things we can only imagine, who are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, injuries, disabilities, among other things, and are having a hard time assimilating back into society. And not only that, but veterans who aren't experiencing those obstacles still have a hard time getting a job. And yet veterans, among so many other people and families, are experiencing setbacks, unexpected crises, and can't even find employment. So many people who've been misplaced by the worst economy in 80 years are winding up homeless. So while homeless veterans are finally starting to see real assistance, there are so many families and people that are still far too often being ignored. Homeless women, families, and homeless children, for example. According to a report called America's Youngest Outcasts, issued by the National Center on Family Homelessness, the number of homeless children in the U.S. has surged in recent years to an all-time high, amounting to 1 child in every 30 being homeless. 1 child in every 30. So by so many of our children being left in this position, the futures of our communities are going to pay a high price for overlooking this. The children of today are the producers and the leaders of our society tomorrow. How are they going to move forward what we pass on to them if they're not equipped with the education and emotional stability they need to do anything in our society? But we're not looking at those things when we think of homeless people. We don't see people. There are so many stereotypes when it comes to homelessness, but very few truths. It is a fact that in this world's constantly changing environment, with constantly changing circumstances always affecting us, any one of us could find ourselves in this position. And so many of us have. People that you know, talk to, work with, learn with, are homeless or on the brink of it. But we don't recognize it, see it, or even want to believe it. That's why it's so important to keep sight of the fact that if you run into a rough place in your life, that everyone deserves as much love, respect, and a helping hand just as much as you do. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been without a home or known someone that didn't have a place to stay or was close to it? How did it happen? What did you learn from the situation? Tell me your experience in the comments. Did you like this video and know anyone who should see it? If so, subscribe to this channel and share it. And if you want even more resources and exclusive updates to create a life and relationships you want, go to daniellevans.com and sign up for email updates. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.